Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, thank you very much for talking to DD News. So the world is now witnessing a charged atmosphere. There's such a lot of unusual forms of terrorism. We saw recently the attack in Peshawar, children being attacked, the attack in Paris. There seems to be, on one side, there is this radicalization for theocratic states. On the other side, this defense of freedom, which is also to insult people, freedom to insult, almost bordering on racism. What is the role of the United Nations in a charged atmosphere like this?
United Nations takes a current situation where there is some very serious extremism and terrorism and radicalization are taking place very seriously. United Nations, as you may remember, has taken a very important resolution by consensus already in 2006, a global counterterrorism strategy. Under this global strategy, we have established implementation task force, and we have established the counterterrorism center. Of course, in addressing this issue, we have to have a comprehensive strategy. Just trying to address this terrorism by any military means, that will be just one of the aspects. First of all, we have to promote through education, through a political and social campaign, to enhance the level of tolerance, the mutual respect among people for religion and belief and tradition of others. It's important to respect all this. Then we have to really educate people to respect all these human rights and human dignity. And not a single country, not a single organization can address this one. We have to have a collective responsibility and collective efforts to address.
So this collective efforts, once one of the main objectives of the United Nations was to end war when it was created. And do you feel that the time has now come, when the institution itself needs reform, in a sense that it can give representation in a way that can at least address these issues in the United Nations itself, in the system itself?
United Nations has been trying to improve the way it works to make a more efficient and effective and a transparent and accountable way in addressing many political issues and development issues and human rights issues. Of course, there are still rooms for improvement, including the reform of major organizations like Security Council. But before we are talking about certain mechanisms, what is more important at this time is how to protect the human rights and human dignity, and how to respect others' belief and religion and tradition and civilization. We have established many such initiatives like Alliance of Civilization, Interfaith Dialogue among Civilizations. All these initiatives should be supported by the whole international community, and we will continue to improve our way of delivering the results. Yes.
Well, one of the major initiatives was the Millennium Development Goals, and they've come to an end in 2015. But we see that, halving world poverty, how effective has that been? You, in fact, in your priorities post-2015 have mentioned that there is great inequality still in terms of this in this aspect. Then in the fight against HIV/AIDS, there have been some successes there. When you look at the intergovernmental system, how effective has it been in achieving these kind of goals?
Through Millennium Development Goals during last 14 years, member states have been working very hard to deliver their pledges. We have been able to reduce by half the number of poor people in the world, but still we have at least 1 billion people who go to bed hungry every night. We have to reduce this one. And there are still many people who are dying needlessly from preventable diseases, child mortality and women's mortality. They are the major source of unnecessary death. And still this world is, our planet Earth is warming. And therefore we have to address all these issues. While we may not be able to meet all the targets of Millennium Development Goals, the member states will agree to a post-2015 development agenda with a set of sustainable development goals covering all the spectrums of our life, including developing and developed worlds. We hope that by September this year, when we celebrate 70th anniversary of the United Nations, leaders of the world will adopt and declare their vision targeting by 2030, by which time we expect that all the human beings in this world, together with all this planet Earth, will be a sustainable one, that where nobody will be left behind.
What are some of these targets, or what should they be? I mean, I know that they haven't been framed as yet, and you're talking about September, but give us some guidelines. We
have to, first of all, address the poverty issues. That comes number one and the central goal. We have to promote the gender equality. We have to provide quality education to all the people. We have to address climate change. And we have to protect all these species, and we have to preserve oceans. There are 17 areas where member states have been working. Of course, we have to provide decent jobs to all the people, particularly young people. Those are very important goals which we are now discussing. I'm sure that member states will agree on sustainable goals to make our whole world and planet Earth sustainable.
So you have a special association with India. This was the place you started your diplomatic career. Now, what more, and you understand India very well as well, what more can India give to the world? We already have World Yoga Day. Thank you very much. But what more can India give to the world?
India is the largest democracy in the world. And India is one of the fastest growing economies. Therefore, there's a huge expectation that India can lead these global efforts toward the sustainable path. I know that still you have many poor people, many socio-economic challenges, but I'm sure that the way you have been doing will be a great example for many developing countries to emulate. But to make this whole world sustainable, I think developing and developed world work together, addressing comprehensively all the spectrums of our life.
Secretary General, thank you very much for talking to Doordarshan News.
Thank you very much. Dhanyawad.